Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players, uncover their stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, stick around. You're in the right place. Hi, this is Craig. Just want to let you know you can now advertise here on Everyone Loves Guitar podcast. For more information, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. That's everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody. This is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. I've got an awesome player and just a super, super cool guy with us. We're with Chris Latham today, otherwise known as Brother Latham. With the band Beasto Blanco. Chris is born in LA, but raised in, everybody's heard of this, Bird Creek, Alaska, and migrated to Anchorage. Moved to California to be a rock star. As he says, he was a music major in college, found the rock, still looking for the star. I would disagree with that. I think he's a rock star. He's the guitarist and co-songwriter for Beasto Blanco, like I said. The songs that, if you're not familiar with the band, go check out the following three songs: Grind, Feed My Frankenstein, and Death Rattle. Really great. So all the songs are super melodic. I was telling Chris before we got started, man, any one of them could be a radio single. And that's rare that you find that on a record, as you all know. He also works as an audio recording editor, mixer for film, TV, and radio and corporate clients. Clients include Air Force One and Two for 2 presidencies, United and Delta Airlines. Do they give you like tickets, like discount on tickets? I was just wondering that. Like airlines? No.
You know, we always, all of us always inquired on that, and that never was the case.
Bitches. He has also mixed and worked on interviews with the likes of Tom Petty, Brian Wilson. It says Joel Walsh. That's got to be Joe Walsh, right? I don't know how the hell that happened. Joe's brother, Joel. Joe Walsh, Frank Sinatra Jr., Herb Alpert, and many, many more. This led to other opportunities for licensing and writing music for major network TV shows and movies to doing session work. Chris has over 100 TV and film credits. Beasto Blanco, they've got 2 studio albums and 1 live album, and we'll talk about later in the show. There is another studio album coming out this year. The live album releases from the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin, Germany. Let's see, they've done several European tours along with a few U.S. tours, and they're gearing up for touring again next year, or this year, actually in 2019, including the Monsters of Rock Cruise. And also towards the end of 2019, the Mega Cruise, performing with Megadeth, Anthrax, Danko Jones, and others. How loud is that boat in the middle of the ocean, man?
That will be the cause of the tsunamis on the West Coast. Yeah,
man. I'm thinking. Whew. Besides all that, he's got a great girl that he's with, a badass 16-year-old son. He loves to surf. In fact, we are recording this on the beach. No, we're not. It's freezing out. He loves to travel, and he does love roughing it on a beach or in the woods somewhere. Chris, thanks so much for your time, and I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Craig. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Dude, everybody that I've met from Alaska is totally into like being out in the woods and all that stuff. That's what you guys do, right?
You don't have any choice. I mean, that's what you have. So.
Very good point. Yeah. Very good point. Yeah.
I laugh at your comment in Bird Creek, Alaska. Yeah. It's definitely, it's like right up there with
the New York of Alaska, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I looked it up and I didn't see it. I looked it up on Google and it wasn't really? Like, how could something not be on Google? It was like Wikipedia. There was no Wiki. There was a map and it was like a creek. It was like the name of a creek.
Yeah, it's a river. Yeah,
yeah.
It really is. It's got. There's a gas station with a little market. Yeah. Which you find at any gas station, and then right next door is a bed and breakfast, and that's it. And then back in the woods, it's all cabins where people have kind of migrated out of the city and live freely in their woods.
What precipitated? Like, what prompted that move?
My grandparents, actually, they that bed and breakfast I was just talking about, they owned it.
Oh, okay.
And it also had a bar and a restaurant, and then the gas station, my uncle owned it. So when I was young, my folks, split up, and we moved. Being from Alaska, we moved back to Alaska, me and my mom, and that's where we ended up, was out in the woods.
Wow. What was the good and the bad about growing up in a place that tiny? Like, how'd you make friends? Was there any that weren't related to you?
Yeah, there's there's kids around back in the when I say the woods, that literally means it was the mountains were my backyard. We had to be bussed into a school not too far away into Girdwood, and so that's where I went. That's where I went to school, and I don't know if there was really any bad. I as a kid, it was I couldn't think of a better place to grow up, because you can kind of let your kids just go out and explore, and they just teach them about how the bears operate, which it's really just run, duck, and hide and climb a tree. Or you carry your gun, and seriously, I was shooting guns at 4 years old back there.
That's normal though when you are in a town like that.
Yeah. It's really not even a town, Greg. It's a river.
Well, I had some buddies that were in Idaho I'm having a brain fart, in a big Boise, in the biggest city in Idaho. And he was telling me about his kids, and he said, they're not, when we raise they're not weapons, they know that they're dangerous, but they're tools.
Yeah.
And so it's not like, they're hidden or anything like that if you're growing up in that environment, which they shouldn't be, because then it's like, then everybody wants to get at them, So I thought that was pretty normal, actually.
Yeah, no, it's shoot, I even have my truck from Alaska, and it's still got the gun racks in the window. I have an old 71 Chevy.
Do you really? That's cool.
Yeah, and the gun racks are...
That's so funny, man.
In the window, in the rear window. I also have my redneck patch sitting right on my neck,
There you go, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think it was a really cool way to grow up, because there'd be times when I'd say, "Okay, Mom, I'm going to go. I'll be back in a few days." And this was when I was like 10 years old, and I would literally just hop on my bicycle, grab some bacon, some bread, a lighter, my gun, backpack, and I'd go ride the bike back in the mountains, and I'd find a place to camp, and I would just go out there by myself.
You're kidding me?
No, and
wow.
Did that stuff, or I'd go, to one of my buddies who lived back in the woods, and say, let's go take off for a day or two.
All right, so I'm going to ask you some real, probably ignorant questions about that, because I grew up in the Bronx and I know nothing about what you're talking about. Isn't it like, where do you sleep? Isn't it freaking cold?
Well, it's during the summers up there, it's not bad. It's how can I equate it to? A summer day in Alaska is kind of like a winter day in Seattle, if you've ever been to Seattle, or maybe
I have, not in the winter time. So that's cold though. Winter day in Seattle is freaking cold.
Yeah, it could be in the 40s or 50s, but when you grow up there, you're used to the weather, especially after you just came through the winter. We never did this in the winter because it was brutal, but we would go out and explore during the winter. But I would never be sleeping overnight outside. But during the summers, average day 50. Between 45 and 55 degrees, maybe a little rainy. You're just used to it. That's warm compared to what you just went through in that minus 20 winter, Now,
how cool is it that you had the safety and freedom, though, to do that? That must have been real nice.
It was great. Great way to go up.
I needed a gun to go across the street. Dude, you've done a lot of work. I want to talk about all the stuff you've done, but let's talk about licensing, because I was curious how you got into that, because you've done a lot of work in there and with some very major clients.
I got into that, through becoming a rock star and having other, my attempt at being a rock star and moving to California to be a rock star. I ended up having to get if you want to call it a real job.
Yeah.
to support that. So I started working as an engineer, doing TV and film, and I was working for a studio called Firehouse Recording Studio. It's one of the many studios that I worked at. And through that, I learned about licensing, because the basis of that company, it was a division actually of an umbrella of a company called DMI Music and what was it called? DMI Music and Media. And what that company did was we would find the DNA for your brand. So I started learning, open my eyes to all the corporate sides of what music could do we did soundtracks for Coca-Cola, United Airlines, Build-A-Bear, and Mattel. The list just goes on and on and on. And so through that division was another division called 5 Alarm Music. And there's that company. That's what they did. They licensed music, and it was one of the, if not still one of the biggest music houses, I think, if not, in the United States, almost in the world. They would need music cues recorded. They get a client, a supervisor would call them up and say, hey, we need something for da-da-da-da. We looked at your website, and that's where Doug became real instrumental, Doug Bossy. We looked at the website, didn't hear what we liked, but here's what we're looking for. People would come over to get some musicians in there, get them into the studio and record, so that all the divisions had a lot of synergy with each other.
Okay.
And that's how I met Cassandra Lord, who was heading up 5 Alarm. And we became friends, and she started calling on me for, hey, can you do this or can you do that? And, not just recording cues for TV shows, but I know you play guitar and da-da-da-da. Do you have any music for? Absolutely. She's like, do you have any old music that's doing nothing? It's just sitting there, and it's even on cassette. I'm like, I got tons of it. So I just started handing over stuff, and next thing I know, it's being placed.
So you got a nice big catalog going.
It's not huge, but it just gave me the opportunity, and also opened my eyes to, I had blinders. I think maybe some musicians who don't look at outside of what they're kind of doing. This opened my eyes to a lot of other ways to create a revenue through music, and not just trying to do it as a band or releasing a record, doing all the traditional things. There's ways to make money out there, and everything needs music. Everything from a radio commercial to a digital format, or TV, or a film, or it could be 15 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, but there's always music somewhere.
Totally, man. And it's so cool that you got, that it came organically from this gig that this job you had gave you a skill that you could make money on your own with, basically.
Yeah.
Which is really cool, because you got, you didn't have to pay tuition, in the sense that you got paid to learn, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. And the relationships I built through that company specifically, not only, opened my eyes to different opportunities, but, created some lasting friendships as well.
That's great, man. I want to talk about some of these licensing projects, because they sound really interesting. Air Force 1 and 2, what was the deal with that?
Okay, so through Firehouse, or through all the divisions, was another division called Private Label Radio that was under DMI as well. They started out, the lady that started the company, Tina Clark, she's just a legend in her own right. She, if you've heard the jingle, "Have you had your break today?" She was a jingle writer for years. She started this company, and one of her first clients was United Airlines. So she, was very instrumental in getting their, they have the Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue. She was one of the instrumental in taking that and doing it and rewriting it in a bunch of different styles, in a country format, a rock format, but it was the same song, same melody, but in different, different instrumentations. So United Airlines was one of her accounts. And what we did for United was basically, when you're sitting on a plane, you plug in, remember the days before the digital formats came in, you sit in a plane, you have your little headphone, and you have your jack, and you can switch some channels on the seat.
With the little dial.
Yeah, so that's what we did. But they took it a step further and made it something to listen for everybody. So we would make these channels of music with artists where it'd be, like one, you can be listening to a radio just without any commercial breaks, and have a mix of music, or we would do things like a salute to songwriters, and feature certain people. So how, I got into it doing that, and getting the opportunity to work with Tom Petty and Brian, like we were saying, Brian Wilson, and the list is huge. So many that I have forgotten.
Yeah, what did you do with those guys? You mixed the interview, you mixed the music, the background music for the footers and the headers?
We would go and meet with, kind of like this. We would go meet for interviews. I would record the interviews. I would edit with them. Then I would mix and piece everything together to make it into a show.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So, and then it would go on the planes, and it went on every United plane in the whole fleet of the world. Then through that, I don't know how it came about, but they picked up Air Force One back when, what presidency was that? I think it was Clinton, maybe when Clinton was in presidency. I wasn't working there yet, but when I started on that who was president then? It was, oh God, I'm forgetting. Yeah, I did it through all the Obama years.
Carter?
Nope. Who was before? It was George Bush. I think I did it. Yeah, it was George Bush and President Obama. So they were president at the time. So we were doing the same thing for their airplane, for Air Force One, and at the time when they had Air Force Two. But now, due to budget cuts, you can't. The vice president can't have his own plane anymore.
So wait a minute. Let's go to the celebrity interviews. Okay. So coolest person that you had been involved with interviews.
Oh man. They were all cool. Well, there was, there's some stories with some too. I'd say, one of the coolest one was, I did some stuff with the Wallflowers, and,
Jacob.
Yeah. Jacob was in, but we did something also with, Rami Jaffe.
Okay.
Who was playing with them. And that was I'd say one of the cool ones. I'd say Tom Petty was definitely awesome. Joe Walsh, because he's a wizard with whatever pops out in his mind. He brought in a guitar and we were recording, and all of a sudden he just wrote this really funny song right on the spot.
I would love, Joe, if you are listening, I would love to have you on my show. When I started this, there was like a top list of 2 or 3 guys. Joe's one of them that I love.
Joe is when Graham Nash, I think.
Oh wow! What a talented songwriter! Holy.
Yeah. So, Tom Petty and Graham Nash were my first week starting at this company. Those were the 2 guys that were on my list to go work with, and I was just kind of shitting myself in a sense, not in the like, oh my God, star like kind of thing, but like just the legendary of the catalog that these guys have. That's the soundtrack of my life, and then of course Joe and all those guys, but. I'd have to say probably Graham Nash was as well. He's such a down-to-earth guy. You'd find that maybe not a lot, but some folks, when they look at the tech side of guys, they don't get the respect of what the interviewer or the producer or what might not get. Graham was not one of those guys. He came into the control room and we sat and talked for at least an hour.
That's very cool, man. Any funny stories that you could talk about without like putting anybody in a bad light?
Well, I can, actually, but I just can't mention a name. So there's a very talented, very well-known blues guitar player who's kind of wacky. We just got done with the session, and we had to. He needed to be driven back to wherever, either his house or hotel or whatever. Sure, no problem. So we leave, and the producer brings our car around. And he wouldn't get in the car. So
wait, he wouldn't get in the car?
Yeah, he insisted on riding in the trunk.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You can't.
And we're like, no, we can't.
Was it like a pickup truck or something? It was like a regular
car. like a Honda Civic kind of thing,
Shit. Is that like what he does? Is that his thing, man? He's riding in the trunks. Surprise! Like, what the hell?
We all thought that. What the hell? But he was very insistent. So we popped him in the trunk, man. We drove him across Los Angeles to his hotel.
You've got to be kidding me, man. That is so funny. Wow. That had to be like a Hollywood moment or something. Like you had to be just sitting there like you couldn't make that up.
No, you can't. I mean, for me, I'm like going, fuck this wacko. Cause I'm thinking like, what if we get pulled over by the cops or God forbid get rear-ended? Which is very possible in
Los
Angeles,
Wait a minute, man. Let me just process this a minute. Like, this is not, I've heard a lot. This is like a new one. I mean, this is wonderful. So he said, is that like his normal thing? Like I don't want to ride in the car. I want to ride in the trunk.
Craig, I don't know. Maybe, one of us had really bad body odor. I don't know. It was so odd. I just remember being in Pasadena, sitting outside the studio, kind of looking around. I'm going, and I thought he was kidding. I was like, but no, he was very insistent. And it was like so insistent and oddly insistent in a sense where you were kind of afraid to say no.
Oh, like he was bordering on the verge of psycho. Like if you don't let me in the car, let me in the trunk, we're gonna have problems.
Right.
Wow, that is definitely the funniest thing I've heard this week. Good Lord, holy shit!
Don't worry, I won't come to your house and ask you to, get in the trunk.
That's so. But at this point,
I'm not going to get in your trunk.
At this point, it wouldn't surprise you now that I've heard it. And it's just like it's like breaking the first thing is like holy shit. Wow, that is wow. I can't even keep going on. I know I'm redundant here. Holy shit.
Oh, it's been nice talking to you. Good talk.
Yeah, man. Hey, we're wrapping. Oh my God. Do you have anything else close to that? I mean, that's stellar, man.
The only things I think maybe close to that is just maybe some of the adventures of Beasto Blanco, but not us individually, just some of the stuff that we've gone through being out on the road and endured.
Well, man, I'll tell you what, when we get to Beasto Blanco, I'm going to put a note here because you're going to have to spill the beans on that. We're right around the corner. Well, actually, let's talk about that now. How did Beasto Blanco get together? And what were you doing musically before that?
Musically before that, actually, I'd taken about a year off from doing anything with, writing anything with anybody or actually working in a band situation. I was playing in a band, but we were playing in a band called Paperback Hero, but we were kind of on our way, out and moving on to other things. But for me, I kind of was going through some things in life where I just needed to regroup and rebuild.
Sure.
At that time, after about, a year maybe gone by, Chuck, who is the singer and guitar player and one of the main writers of Beasto, and one of my best friends. We've been friends since teenagers.
So he was in Alaska too?
No, he's actually from Tahoe. So he's another, we were both born from the, mountain mud.
Yeah.
And him and I met, we were actually some of the first, we met each other. I moved from Alaska. He moved from Tahoe, and I worked at a record store, and I was there for maybe a couple months. He came in, and we've been buddies.
Wow, that's really cool.
So he was been writing some songs. He was out on tour with Cooper, and he was writing songs, and he called me up and said, "Man, I got these songs. I just want to record them. Let's get them out." So we did that. We recorded with Tommy Hendrickson, who also was in Alice Cooper band and a fabulous producer and mixer himself. And next thing we know, we're like, "Oh wow, these are really good." And Calico Cooper was also a part of that as well because we brought her in to sing, and so it was kind of the three of us getting that up off the ground, which started out as demos, and then next thing we knew, turned into a record.
So you just got together with no set. You just said, "Hey, let's write, let's see what we can come up with."
Yeah, just to have some fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. That is really cool when something like organically comes from that, man.
Yeah.
All right. So now talk about you had some stories that you guys have gone through, man.
Okay, so have you ever seen? What's that movie? You ever seen the movie Hostel? It's a horror movie.
No.
It's about these tourists who get kidnapped and get their body parts like removed and sold on the black market.
No.
In like the Czech Republic, the deeps.
Oh wait, who was in that? I think I did see that.
I don't know who was in it.
I think I did see.
I just remember seeing it and then going through a situation, going, "Oh my God, we're doomed." We broke down. Our bus broke down in the Czech Republic, but not in like a nice area of like Prague or something. We're in these back little towns where our tour manager speaks, I don't know, 9 different languages.
Wow.
Fluent, can just hold a conversation with the United Nations practically and not skip a beat, but he doesn't know how to speak Czech. We're broke down. We're in a gas station. No one speaks the language, and it's not like there's no similarities in the language of English and Czech. Like there would be in Italian or French or it's a really hard language to comprehend when someone's talking to you. So anyway, we're broke down. We ended up we're trying to get to Austria, and we end up in this, finally getting to a train station with 2 cabs, and they're really hard people, man. You can tell that they've gone through some shit in their history. We end up in this little train station, and we don't understand each other. So things get real heated because we thought people are trying to take our money, and we don't know the currency. We don't know anything. And so we're just trying to get some tickets to get on a train, and we can't even read the signs. And so things get real heated. Now, to describe the only way I can describe it is the movie Hostel, because everybody is super hard on their face and they're all looking at you, and we stand out that we were all on edge because we didn't know what was going on. I don't know if that's anything.
Yeah, that's like scary, man.
Trunk story, but
there's nothing you can say at this point. No matter, I think what you're going to tell me, how do I get over the trunk thing, man? That's so fucking bizarre. I mean, like in my drunkest state of mind, like that's nothing that would cross it,
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, like, have you ever? I mean, like, has that thought ever come into your mind? Like, hey, man, let me hop in the trunk. I'm just stuck on that. Sorry, man. It's just.
No, I mean, if you took the the N out of trunk and just truck, yeah, absolutely, I'll get in the back of the truck. I mean, when I was a kid, we all sat in the back.
Absolutely.
Of the truck. But no, I really can't.
This is probably like the 410th interview I've done. This beats any story I've ever heard. You win, Chris. This is like no one will top this. I mean, this is like wow, so nutty. So how did you guys wind up getting out of that situation in the Czech Republic?
After everybody was yelling in the station and we're being gawked at, the cab driver that took us there, again, we were all on edge because we're thinking he ended up taking Chuck to a bar across the street, which was kind of like a speakeasy. Not good stuff goes on there, but we didn't know what he was saying. And what he was trying to say is we need to make change. We're paying too much. And we thought he was trying to take our money. Right? He's just pulling it out of our hand. So everybody's yelling in this little station like, no, what are you doing? And we don't know what they're saying, and they don't know what we're saying. We ended up getting on a train and then got to a midpoint in the Czech Republic to get another train to Austria. And still we get in there and you have to go through the customs line because you're getting ready to go over the border. All of our luggage was put into another car to drive up to Austria that we all couldn't fit in. And our bass player left his passport.
Oh my God. This is like one drama after another.
Oh yeah. And so when they're asking, we're going through this line and we don't understand what they're saying, but we see everybody's pulling out their passports. So you just,
go with the flow.
So, Jan's like, I don't have my passport. I'm sorry, what? I don't have my passport. And okay, just shh. So we just kind of put him in the line behind us, and as we all handed our passports, we kind of scooted him through and got through, man. Otherwise, it would have been.
Oh my God!
You can't leave a man behind. You know?
No, of course not. Wow. Props for security at the Czech Republic border.
Yeah.
Oh my! Wow! It reminds me of that movie with Bill Murray when they were in the Czech Republic. Remember that? Stripes. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. You know, they were in the Czech Republic doing nutty stuff like that. Oh my God. And the thing is, you guys were probably freaking out because I bet you had that hostile movie in your mind when you were going. Yeah, that's what probably made you freak out more. You're like, oh my God, this is real. This is not fantasy.
No, it is, and there is stories of that stuff that happens. Wow. You know, I don't know if it's out of that area specifically, but you know,
you don't know where the hell you are.
Right.
Wow, man, holy shit!
And sure enough, we were in Switzerland, and so the buses, you have to plug everything in to keep the batteries charged, since they're all, all the doors are electric, everything's electric in those things. Well, everybody's on the bus except for Jan, the bass player, and myself. We ended up staying in the bar and we're having a few more drinks, and we closed the place down. We didn't realize that the bus lost power. So we were in Switzerland, middle of winter. We come out of the bar. They closed it up, locked it, and left. Jan and I went to go to the bus and get in. Couldn't get in. Everybody of the band and our tour manager was locked inside. And Jan and I were locked outside in this. It was so cold, Craig. The wind was, we're in the Alps, so the wind is just howling and it was freezing. We're knocking on the thing. It's about 4 a.m. Let us in. And all I see is Chuck and the bus driver in their underwear through this, really dark window. I just see them going back at each other, like yelling. And I hear Chuck, "We're locked in." I'm all, "What?" Because the wind was blowing so much. It was like whistling. "What? We're locked in." "What? I can't get the door open." I mean, it was like, oh, no way. So we couldn't get in the bus.
Well, they must have been freezing inside, though, no?
They were freezing inside, yeah.
Oh, God. This is like the worst experience ever, man.
It's really funny now I think about it now. So they ended up finding, the bus driver found a little teeny hatch that we were able to crawl in to get into the bus. So we did that, and we slept inside with all of our clothes and our bunks, and we got through the night and had to carry on to London. Got the bus charged. They don't have had to get the equivalent of a AAA up there into this little town and charge that bus up so we can get going.
Man, that's horrible, man. I'm so sorry you had to do. And then you got to play on top of that, which is not, which is a job, which is the job. But oh my God,
it's par for the course. I mean, it's one thing about this band is that we definitely know how to overcome and just move forward. We did our first U.S. tour. We were all coming from Europe. Actually, some of us were coming. We had like 2 weeks off, so we all went home for a couple weeks. And then we all met in Chicago. So we had our bass player and drummer. They're from Germany, flying into Chicago. We all flew into Chicago, and then we were going to go play a show the next day and start our tour. Well, we get there, and our drummer doesn't make it into the country. He literally gets off the plane, gets interrogated in there. We didn't have our visas properly done. They put him right back on a plane and send him home.
Holy crap.
We're sitting in the airport going, what the hell do we do? I mean, Calico was calling her dad. We're trying to pull every string we possibly can with this. Couldn't do anything. Nope, sorry, you didn't. I see it, but it's a promotional. We're not making any money. It's sorry, you don't have your visa. So we ended up having to have our tour manager for the States, who plays drums. Thank God he bailed us out. He sat in and had to play double duty, tour manage and learn the songs in 8 hours. And we rehearsed for 4 and then we got going.
Wow, how do you have band members overseas? That's not common.
No. This is as far as the logistics of Beasto. It's an odd one, but we make it work. So Calico and I live here in LA. Our drummer now is in Santa Barbara, and Chuck is in Nashville, and our bass player is in Germany. So the way that came about is Chuck was being that he played with Dio and Cooper, and he was also doing the thing with the Eric Singer project. He was going over to LA a lot, and the bass player was a big fan of those bands. So they ended, up through the years of Jan going to shows and getting to know Chuck, they became friends. And next thing I know, Chuck, we got our first tour, and we needed a band. All of a sudden, we have a record, and like, oh, okay, maybe we should get a band, and we did it too. So Jan, he's like, I know a guy in Germany. Since we're going over there, let's get him over there. And Jan knew Tim.
Okay.
And so we just kept that core.
Okay. Wow. I cannot believe this, man. I'm just like, wow. It's amazing that like you guys kept, you didn't say, oh man, this is not meant to be kind of a thing. You could have easily said that. Right.
No, it's, we, one thing I think about Beasto is, over, a lot of other great projects I've had the, blessing to be with, something about this band is, there's a lifestyle to it, I think, to the music, and I think it resonates with a lot of. I think everybody in this band it was brought up in a blue collar way, where you work and you got to fight and grind through it, and it comes across in the music, and something about it to me, it feels like a lifestyle and a kind of a credo, and bringing the culture back to rock and roll, so to speak, Something that's real.
Yeah, that's cool, man. It's funny. I've heard not too many guys, but I've heard only a few guys mention that word. That it's more of a life. You're lifers kind of in this thing.
Yeah,
I've heard that with a couple of guys I've interviewed. It's great.
Yeah, and again, the basis from the. I think it stems too is that we're all a family, and it's as much of the. These stories, and there's a lot of these stories. It seems on every tour, something always pops up. We can't be the only band that things pop up.
No, of course not.
We really know how to chalk it up together and get through it. And there's just a true love, I think, in the band with everyone.
Well, there should be, because you guys have gone through enough shit that if there's not, it ain't worth it, man. Oh my God. Are you working on anything now that you're excited about upcoming?
I'm working on, I'm really just focusing on getting our next record out. It's something about this record. I think, people who've listened to the band for, seen it started with us and, kept with us, I think with this record, there's a lot of maturity in it.
In what way?
Maturity in the songwriting, going back to, I know for me, me personally, the things that I brought back to this record, I really started listening to, I really dived into being a listener of music, and especially of stuff that was the soundtrack of, when I started listening to music as a kid up to now, especially some of the old stuff, Cheap Trick, the Cars, Fleetwood Mac, and a lot of my influences that I really drew to, and some, Pink Floyd and whatnot. I was able to take some of those influences, I think, and I really brought them, as far as, parts and guitar wise to this record. And the producer that we're working with, Ryan Green, he's just a legend in his own right. Really know how to take this, take what we're doing, these songs, and really get us to hopefully give the listener on, send them on our journey.
Very cool, man.
So I'm excited about this.
How does it work with the guitar parts? Do you guys alternate rhythm and lead, or is one of you more of a rhythm, one of you more of a lead?
In the studio, I'm doing both. I'm pulling all the guitar work, but live, Chuck is doing. He's a wonderful bass player and very accomplished. But he plays guitar and frontman in this band, so this is a big step out for his comfort zone in this, in which he just does a fantastic job with. So he'll pull he pulls in the rhythm duties on this.
Tour.
And I love his guitar playing. It's something about a guitar player who's not a guitar player by first instrument, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
That there's no rules. And I really enjoy that, hearing that stuff with guys who just throw it out there, man, and it comes up with the coolest stuff. So yes, he pulls the rhythm duties, and got him actually doing some leads, because I'm doing some harmonies on some of this new stuff that we're testing his. We're throwing it at him, and he's pulling it off great.
It's good. Well, you're like a very unselfish. We haven't spent tons of time together, but I can tell you're a very unselfish person. So that, usually musically you're the same. People are the same. You're not how you do one thing is usually how you do everything.
Yeah.
Your playing and your writing is very rooted, as you just mentioned, in blues rock from the 70s. And even though you guys are more of a hard rock band, I hear a lot of Gilmour in your playing. And Gilmour's my favorite player. He's just so economical. And I was curious if he was, if he was one of your inspirations, or one of the guys that meant a lot to you.
He does mean a lot. I've never sat down. There's it's interesting. A lot of the guitar players that I have just I've fallen for, I've never sat down and actually learned their music, but I've been a huge listener. Gilmour being one. I've been listening to Pink Floyd, obviously, since I've been born up to now. So I know the playing style very much. And thank you for the compliment, brother. That's a huge compliment, because Gilmour is one guitar player that everything he does, it's not a lead, like, oh, here's a guitar solo. He plays for the music and for the song. Right. And man, it could be one note, or it could be 5 notes, and the rhythm and the whatever he might be doing with something in his playing. Man, if I can get an inkling of some of that and have that come out, God bless, man, because he's a wonderful player. Yeah.
Well, I thought some of I felt that a lot of your lead lines were kind of similar like that. You were serving the song. It was soulful, melodic, and which I like. I'm not somebody that particularly looks for like tons of shredding. It's great, but it's just not my thing that I want to hear music. For me personally, musically, it doesn't move me as much. So I really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that you had going on there.
Thank you.
When you first started playing professionally, were there any surprises about the business end of being a professional musician?
I don't know if there were any surprises. Definitely some learning curves. I think, I don't know. Again, I don't think they should be surprises. I think if you're going to do anything on a professional level, even on a personal level, it boils down to always coming in and being prepared as you can, but also being able to jump at a moment's notice, because things in the music business are very dynamic. It's not static, obviously. So it's just being able to roll with the punches, and treating having a respect for yourself and others around you, and treating, we were having this conversation earlier about time, not wasting anybody's time. And I think that's what I've always just taken that to the aspect of it, because, being in a studio or being out somewhere, you're paying somebody to do something. So make sure you get your money's worth out of them. And you're providing a service or you're not. So if that's a surprise or if that's just an ethic, I think, people should stand by that, because, it gets you a call back.
Yeah, for sure. What were some of the lower points, Chris, or obstacles you had to deal with over your career, and how did you get through them? Could be music, business, personal, whatever you choose to talk about, man.
I think, low points, I don't know if anything musically related, it's musically related. You just kind of got to roll with the punches and take things as a grain of salt. So, you can be wined and dined by Warner Brothers or whatever, by a label, producer or whatever, and know that it could be just that. So that can be, if you're really hungry and you want to do it, but you get those letdowns. And I don't think that's a low point. I'd say, not too far, I mean, it's been 19 months and I don't know how many days, but, on this last record with Beasto, my mom got sick and passed away.
Oh man, I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And so it's I don't know, if someone knows the answer of how to, I don't know if it's ever a healing thing when someone close to you is, goes away, but,
so sorry.
Thank you. But this record, I'd say per se, helped me through that a lot, because it's, going through and being with my mom and watching what she was going through. There's, I don't know if profound is the right word, of the different stages of what she was going through and seeing it on her face and what she may have been feeling. And it was definitely a good, I don't want to say release, but a good outlet for diversion to calm the voices and the emotions down in the studio and doing this record. And, again, Ryan and Chuck and Callie, and they all, the whole band, as far as all that goes, was really, really instrumental in keeping me and guiding what I was feeling and putting it on tape,
Yeah, that's good.
But, low points, man, I'm generally, I've had all my stuff stolen after a session.
Oh,
all my guitars, my Les Pauls.
Wait a minute,
gone. And I was also going through some other stuff in life. Again, at that time, my dad had passed away. Dad left. Dad died. Wife left me a month later. Lost my job. Had my, all my instruments stolen from a session.
Oh my God.
And all I could do was just say, thank you, Lord. Truly, and mean it, because the instruments meant nothing to me. Before anything would have happened, I would have been gone ape shit and been but they're just pieces of wood.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, and in fact, I just we did this the Alice Cooper the Christmas Pudding 2 weeks ago in Arizona, and my pedal board got stolen.
How the hell is all this shit get stolen?
It just happens, man. But it's I can either spend the energy being angry and resentful, but it's a lot easier to say, I hope it, and it's you have to bite your, everything and muster all the energy inside you to be able to say, I hope it's a blessing to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because what can I do?
That being said, that's a bad run. You lost your dad, your wife leaves you, blah blah blah. You're due for some breaks, man. I hope. Yeah. Seriously.
This was, it was a long time ago.
But still, that's a bad run. And unfortunately, I don't think anybody is spared from those, because it seems like, this life, man. You get when it rains, it pours. Is kind of how it goes sometimes, man.
Well, you can go at it a few ways. One, you can sit and sulk, which we all do, and then if you just take advantage of it as a rebuilding period, and that's what I did. And that was that year off that I took before Beasto, or a good year, because I needed to rebuild myself, and that's what I did. I had to look, instead of pointing the finger at things, what did I do, and how can I make myself better? In this situation, and because you can't change anybody else, but you can change your own. So that's what I did. And I think it's helped me a lot now. It helped me grow.
Man, I give you props for that, because I try to do that too, because if you don't do that, then you feel like a victim. If you don't figure out what can you get out of this, then you're a victim, man, and you get nothing out of it. But if you could figure out, hey, obviously it's not your involvement if somebody passes away, but other stuff sometimes happens. So what was my role in it? And then you could learn something, and at least get out of it and feel, okay, well, this was my lesson, and I've learned.
Yeah. And, I don't know where you're at spiritually or not, but, I think, when you're not humble with your demeanor and in life and respect with others, and it's not saying that I wasn't, but maybe I was taking a lot of things for granted, that the good Lord just took that rug out from under my feet and said, whoa, let me really show you who's in control, not you. you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
It can be taken away in an instant. So I think that's kind of where, what happened. It's like, okay, well, let's remove some things so that we can, let's prune the vine so that you can grow some new fruit.
Man, thank you for sharing that. At least you're not crawling in the trunk of a car. I don't know if I'll ever get that out of my mind ever the rest of my life. I mean, seriously, that is just the fucking most bizarre thing I've ever heard. Honestly, like, it's just like nothing would ever prompt anybody I know to do that. I don't think, like maybe tons of drugs, but even then, like you open the car windows and you scream out the side of the car. You sit on the hood. I mean, like, I'm just wrestling with this thing.
Yeah, it was an extreme moment. I'm not gonna lie.
How about the flip side? Is there like one or two things that you've done, Chris, that at the time might have been out of your comfort zone, but turned into be nice breaks for you? Looking backwards.
I can't think of anything like besides the generic things of, like being a dad and my family and friends. I mean, those are I just take those to my grave. I'd say it all has been good. Even the bad has been good because what's that saying? Did you learn anything today? It's been a bad day, right?
Yeah.
So I just take, all the experience that I've been fortunate to have, good and bad, have always led to something. A good relationship has been out of what that would make, the good stuff, working at the studio. I meet guys like Doug and in the bad there, I, learn how to handle myself. That's all. That's good.
Yeah, totally. 100%. That's good stuff. I want to talk about a couple of the tracks on the last album, Beasto Blanco.
Yes.
They're kind of deep track. They're deep cuts.
Yes.
There's two songs I want to talk about. Dark Matter.
Mm-hmm.
That was like really great blues lines, like weaving throughout the whole song, and then ultimately really killer, like painful blues solo. What's the backstory to those lyrics, if there is any?
Man, if that's Lindsay Garrick. That's Chuck's wife on both of those on that song. So the story of that, or the way you can take and translate those lyrics, is that you can probably translate it into two different ways. You make the dark matter. Maybe there's a dark time in your life, and then that one person or that one thing makes the dark matter. Or you can take it the other way and be like, you make the dark matter. In other words, you're making my life miserable. It doesn't have to be a situation. So that's kind of what some of the writing on that record entails. Lindsay's brother, had an addiction as well, and didn't make it through it.
Oh man, sorry about that.
Yeah, it was a heavy hit for her. It was, her and her brother were really tight. So she,
God damn, it's just fucking so many guys, just so many people, and just like there's not a person I know that hasn't been impacted by addiction. Like literally, not a person I know, and I know plenty of people outside of like musicians. Right. I mean, it's just like it's fucked up.
Right. Well, she put it out all on paper. And along started, she was doing some things to promote. She had I forget what it was. It was like heroin, something. I don't even want to say because I don't know the correct name of it. But anyway, she put a lot of that, what she was feeling, out on paper and some of those stories. So I don't know if Dark Matter was necessarily directly about that, but I'm sure there were some influences to those lyrics through that. But it is a great song. It was one of those songs that we stepped outside of our normal, Motorhead meets Rob Zombie, went camping, came out with Beasto Blanco, made love, I should say, and came out with that record we kind of really expanded, I think, more on the melodies and whatnot. And that song in particular was one of those. No drums, it was just vocals, Chuck, the keys, the synths and all those pads behind and a few little guitar lines till you get to the end,
You were in the zone, man, on that solo though in the end. That was
it was one of those ones that what? Writing, it was like I didn't even have to think, it just came out, Definitely some Gilmore in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened, but it did, like the opening, and then there's that.
Yep.
I'm like, I just love it, and I'm thank you, David, and I'm sorry if I guess if you steal it from the best, right?
No, that sounded great. What guitar were you playing on that track?
I was playing in my Les Paul Custom.
Through a
81.
81 Les Paul Custom. Through a
what was I playing through that one? That was an orange. I was going through an orange amp, and then through a few little pedals. My pedal board consisted of a micropog, which I always used to kind of just fatten up the bottom end of my tone, and that was really it. I didn't have a whole lot besides putting a little delay on it.
It sounded great. Was it, now just curious, is that orange a vintage orange or?
No, I don't think it's a vintage. It was one that Ryan had, our producer Ryan Green. It was just a 30 watt.
Just a 30 watt.
Yeah.
I only ask because I got a guy coming on the show soon. He's into vintage orange amps. I would have been like, that's wild. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like that's an unusual. Most people collect Marshalls, or you don't hear people collecting orange amps too often. I was like, whoa, there's another guy.
So, I mean, they're so simple. It's one of those plug and play kind of guitars, and they just have a great tone. It's, not a whole lot of knobs, and they're really big, so you don't have to put your reading glasses in. And you just plug in and go. I mean, I got my son one. He's got a better tone than I do.
Come on. What's this song? How do you pronounce Sadhana?
Oh, Sadhana.
Sadhana. Okay, so let me spell it. Again, this is on the Beasto Blanco album, self-titled. It's the last album. Sadhana. The first song I talked about is Dark Matter, and this song is Sadhana, which is Sadhana. So this is like a 51-second song. It is so freaking cool. It was so creepy, and it was like, that guy's voice? Who the hell is that dude? That was like that guy. You. It was you. No, but was it you?
No.
Who?
It was Billy Bob Thornton.
You're kidding.
No, it was. He's a friend of the band, and him and Chuck actually go way back. So
that's right. Now that you said it, I could hear him. Yeah. That's so wild.
Yeah. So Chuck reached out to Billy and said, "Hey, man, will you read this and record it and send it over?" And yeah, man, no problem. So next thing you know, the next day I had I put that piece together, and that's like, I do that kind of stuff with sound design. So Chuck had one like drone thing, which I wanted to base around because it was really cool. And then I just found all these. I have a sound effects libraries of the Yazoo. So I just put all this stuff together to make it kind of, tell a story, for the audio file.
That was, and who wrote the
poem?
Yeah.
That was Lindsay.
She's a great writer, man. That was really, really cool. Because like he wanted to hear it. It was interesting. It was a great storyline. You weren't really sure how the ending went, but it was just like, it was very compelling to follow it all the way through,
That's cool.
That is so, yeah, man.
Track out.
That was really, it's funny because he's got a band, the Boxmasters, and I interviewed Kirk. Do you know Kirk McKim, his guitar player?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Kirk on the show a long time ago. Really good guy. He's actually down here in Florida on the other coast.
They're a really good band, man. Actually, the Boxmasters. I like the style of them.
I haven't seen them. I saw some stuff on YouTube, but they weren't here. But I'd like to see them.
Yeah. Well, Chuck played. I don't know if it was. I don't think it was. Maybe it was the Boxmasters, but he did a couple runs with Billy, and that's how they met. Years ago. Before I think the Boxmasters were really the Boxmasters. Chuck was filling in on bass for for Billy.
That's cool, man. As soon as you mentioned Billy, I'm like, yes, that's him. That's right. I could hear his voice and see him, and it's because what's really cool about that is he's not like, it's very laid back. And it's like contrapuntal to the music, sort of, and it's sort of, so it was created some tension in there, and you wanted him to start reading faster, but it wasn't.
No, he sling bladed that shit.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what it was. That was great, man. That was sadhana. Where did that name come from? Was that like mean something?
Well, I believe sadhana is it's a meditation technique or sort of a prayer that again, if I'm wrong, please somebody let me know. But I believe it's a name for a type of prayer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. See me, I'm so dumb. I'm thinking it's a food dish or something. So, no, I'm sorry. I was just kidding. Dude, let's talk about gear for a few minutes. So you have good, you had to rebuild your guitar chest, or like what?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your go-to right now, and what other two guitars round out your top three?
So when I had to replace everything, I had a beautiful blonde 81 Les Paul custom. That was my main guitar for years, and then she was swiped. A good friend of mine found one from a guy in Florida, mind you, who was going through some bad times, but the exact guitar.
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't the exact, it was, it was the same year and same color and a little more worn. So she lined it up and got me this guitar and had it sent, and I, and just got it. Paid for it, everything. And it said, "Hey man, why don't you come over for some dinner and we'll hang out," and surprise me with my guitar.
Oh my God.
It's one of my, it's my go-to guitar. Next one I have is,
are you in the studio now? You're not in the studio now.
No, you want me to get it?
Yeah. If it's not like if it's not a pain in the ass, man, I'd love to see it. Yeah. Wow, man, that looks great. Yeah. So it's really worn. It looks perfect, man. The face of that, because that guitar is almost 40 years old.
Yeah.
That must weigh a ton, also.
It is a shit brick house, man. Or brick shit house, however you say it. Yeah. She's a heavy guitar. It's a log. But let me tell you, man, she's just like the dog says. You hear my dog barking back there?
What are those the original pickups in there? I'm assuming.
No. So the pickups here are Seymour Duncan custom at the top and a Jeff Beck at the bridge.
Interesting. What does that Jeff Beck one sound like?
Man, it's sweet. It's I've been using Jeff Becks for a long time. A little bit more, I'd say a little bit more smoother on top. Not quite as bitey. There's some areas where I think with what we're doing with Beasto, maybe might nice to have a little bit more edge, but it's just always a sweet tone. I don't know, not so, it's just warm.
You got nice binding on that too, man. It's really, really nice.
Yeah, I love
Sorry,
it.
not binding, purfling around the, around the whole guitar. It's really nice, man. So let me just describe the guitar. Okay, so it's a Les Paul blonde, really worn. The one thing is cool. Is that ebony?
Yes.
Oh man. So it's an ebony fretboard, which I love, and the switch is black. The circle around it, but between the lead and rhythm switch is black, but also the knob itself is black, which I guess is just a cap, but it looks really cool. There's covers on the pickups that are really nicely worn, and it just looks like a great guitar. Outside of the fact it probably weighs 12 pounds, but it looks great, man. It's a beautiful guitar. Big block inlay, really big block inlays, and that ebony looks fantastic.
You want to see one cool thing? This is the only year Gibson ever did this. Okay, so you see the tuning pegs, right?
Oh man, what is that? Holy shit! Okay,
spring winder comes out of the tuning peg.
I have never seen that in my life. So the tuning pegs have a little lever. You just pull it up, and then it's a winder. Instead of having to twist the peg, you actually wind it with this little. It's like each one's got a winder on it. Yeah. I have never seen that. Are those
Gibson? Yeah.
Wow.
I believe this is the only year they've done it because I've tried to find them for I want every guitar to have them.
Yeah, I bet.
How much of a pain in the ass it is to like string a guitar and have to turn, I mean, of course you get a string winder, but
yeah, now you don't need one with that.
Thing you got to go look for. So this guitar has them. I love it.
Beautiful guitar, man. Beautiful
you.
Guitar, and it sounds great.
Yeah, sounds really good. And this one here's the other one.
Is that a 295?
What's that?
Is that a 295? No. That's the pick guard is.
Yeah. You called it. It's the LP 295.
But I thought the 295s are hollow bodied or semi hollow.
195.
Okay. So that's a.
They did is they based the 295 for the pick guard and the the cutaway there.
Yeah.
And blended the 57 with it. So
wow.
Only 1,000 of these ever made. And I got one of them.
Okay.
What a beautiful guitar.
It's a gorgeous. Okay. So 195. So here's what it is. It's a, it looks like a Les Paul, a gold top Les Paul primarily, except the arch is more pointed like a hollow body guitar tends to be, but it's the same size as Les Paul. The pick guard has got these little, is that flowers, I think?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's got the floral pattern.
Yeah, it's like
the old Scotty Moore guitar.
Floral pattern. The gold top is absolutely beautiful. What kind of pickups are in there?
These are the stock pickups. So what are they? The AF. Man, I don't even know the names of them. I'm horrible with that stuff. But I've never changed anything on this thing.
What year is that?
This here is a 2008.
Really pretty guitar, man. So it's a 2008 190 Gibson 195, and it's really cool. It has a floral pattern on the headstock too.
Yeah,
I noticed. That's really nice, man.
Yeah. It's two great guitars, and I also have I'm a Gibson guy, so I have also a Firebird that I love to use, and I got that actually through a friend of mine. He was a guitar player for Lifehouse at the time, and he's like, just selling gear. He's like, here, take, you want this? Yes, I want it.
Is that Bill Leverty? Is that?
What's that?
What's not Bill Leverty? Is it?
From Lifehouse?
Yeah. Is that his name? No.
Ben Carey.
Okay. So do you play those two on tour as well?
I do.
Yeah. Really, really nice guitars, man. That's very cool. Thank you for showing me those. And now you feel you must feel comfortable. You're like nestling it now, man.
It's like everything is balanced perfect with this blonde one. I seriously, I can keep it on my lap and I can just sit here and have a cup of coffee, and it doesn't feel like I'm wearing a 10-ton guitar.
Well, I'm really glad you got that guitar back. You must have been so happy when you saw that.
Yeah, it was, it all worked out. It took about a year and a half to get everything back in play, but some things I, still haven't gotten, but if not, I've gotten upgrades. Yeah, real stoked.
Have you jammed with any other guitar players that you enjoyed? Any in particular?
Oh man, I have. Probably just local guys. I don't know if anybody's heard of, but there's a lot of people that I've been fortunate to play with. That again, I don't think they've really ever done anything on a significant level of where people would know their names. I've gotten to sit with Doug for a minute, and actually, it was more of me going, "How do I do this? How do you do that? How do you do this?" I don't know if it wasn't even a jam. It was show me that, because that is cool.
Yeah. And Chris is talking about Doug Bossy, Bossi. He's a guy interviewed here. Check him out. And he's also a member of Los Lobotomies, and he's a friend of the show and a friend of mine. Really good guy. If you want to hear another great interview, look it up on the website.
Go
ahead. Sorry.
There's a gentleman named Shay Kiefer, who is just a wonderful, wonderful guitar player. Oh man, I know my Rolodex is spinning and it's not falling on any one name in particular, but
it's all good.
As far as there's some session work, I didn't get to set in with this guy and play, but I got to record him, and that was Larry Carlton.
Did you?
Yeah, man, that guy, he's an icon, and you can see why in his playing. Tony McAlpine, again, not sitting in as a player, but just getting to sit and watch. There's a couple other guitar players that I've been really following up with that I haven't sat down and like learn their stuff or really even know these guys, but I know them as players. A guy named Tyler Bryant, wonderful blues singer.
Yeah, what band is he with?
Tyler Bryant, the Shakedown.
Right, Tyler Bryant, the Shakedown. Okay, right.
I think they're based out of Nashville.
Yeah, they are.
But man, they're good. He's good. And then another guy who's I don't think he's a L.A. original. I think he migrated from here, but his name is Jared James Nichols.
Yeah, I've seen that guy. Yeah,
he's he always plays a lot of notes, but plays the right ones, and his playing style is just it just amazes me.
He plays like a Les Paul with one pickup, I think.
Yes,
yeah,
Epiphone.
Yeah, okay, an Epiphone. Okay, yeah, I've seen him play. I meant to ask you something. I just had a brain fart. I apologize, man. Best guitar and best amp you've ever owned.
Best guitar. My blonde Les Paul Custom here. My favorite amp that I own, and I've had a lot, is my Vox AC30. I have the head and two speaker combo, not a combo, but head separate, and then I have the cabinet, the 2-speaker cabinet with some green alnicos in there. That's one of my go-to amps. That's one thing that I will never get rid of is that amp or this guitar.
Now, is that one from England, or there's like so many variations of that Vox AC30?
I believe this one is from England. Again, I bought it from a friend of mine who is just a stickler with tone, and he had a few of them, so he's got rid of this one, and I'm so glad I got it because it's been on almost a majority of my recordings, let alone my live playings. Not through Beasto so much, but a lot of the other projects that I've worked with.
What are you playing on tour with Beasto amp wise?
Amp-wise, usually it's been whatever backline they can throw at us. So I'd say a Marshall 800 or a 2000 through a 412. But the last couple tours we've done, man, I've been using the Kempers.
Okay, good. Yeah, a lot of people use them.
I'll tell you, bro, they sure make life really easy, and it's very consistent. So your sound's the same every night. So last run, I don't have one yet, but I might get one because I got to buy a new pedal board, and I can get a Kemper with a pedal board for the same cost as all my pedals, Yeah. The last 2 tours we did, I either rented a Kemper or, used one with like our guitar tech and the guy that helps us out. He has all that gear and has been kind enough to loan me his, and man, I'm really enjoying it, and did a lot of recording with it on this last record.
That's cool. And it doesn't weigh anything.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's, what's the worst thing about, not being in a 5-star band or a 4-star band or even a 3-star band, if you want to call it, is moving furniture. And it's
a lot of work.
It is, before and after show. And
it's tough, man, between traveling and then all this other stuff. Being a rock star is not work. Is not what it's cracked up to be, man.
Yeah, it's work. You got to work your ass off, and sometimes you're eating dirt, but it's good. It's you got to love it before, it's like this. I don't care what you're doing. If you're a plumber or if you're whatever, if you love your job, it's not work.
Right.
It's part of the par for the course.
What was your first guitar that you played when you were a kid?
My very first guitar, I still have.
Do you really?
Yeah, I'll show it to you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
I will never get rid of it because it is my first guitar and I worked my ass off for it. She's a bit dusty, but it's this Takamine. You've probably heard of Takamine.
Yeah, they're acoustic guitar. I didn't even know they made electric guitars.
Yeah, this was a Takamine that I bought off a friend in high school, a guy named Moose Colson in Alaska.
That is it looks like, how do I describe that?
It's kind of like Explorer, just a little more spacey, right?
Yeah, it's like a Gibson Explorer, a little more spacey. That's a very good way. It's got 2 pickups, 2 humbuckers.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't look like a bad guitar, man.
No, it plays lovely. It really does. It plays so good that I broke it out and started playing it again and going, damn, this thing plays really nice. It plays like a Les Paul.
That's amazing.
Just really light.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's great, man. You're one of the few players that has their first guitar.
I won't, and I have my so this is technically my second guitar, but I still have my very, very first one that my dad bought me when, it was a nylon string acoustic, but that's not rock and roll.
Right.
So is
that a 7-string guitar?
No,
6. Okay. That's very cool, man. Nice that you have that. CDs or records. What's the first record you bought? Do you remember?
Yep. First record. I bought two records, actually. I got my first turntable and cassette player combo when I was, how old was I? 9, 10. And I took my, so I had this little job where I would go collect shopping carts at like grocery stores.
Yeah.
And at the time, if you returned them, you get a quarter or whatever.
That's pretty good.
Back when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Kept us out from breaking windows and smoking. So I would collect shopping carts, and I got enough quarters where I got enough to buy 2 LPs. And the first it was Van Halen 2 and so Van Halen's second record, and then it was Aerosmith, Night in the Ruts.
Great album, man.
Yep. Great album.
That's very cool, man. Desert Island Discs, Chris, in no particular order, top 3. Just for today, man, knowing this could change tomorrow.
Lynyrd Skynyrd, One More for the Road.
Great album.
Cross it out from the road.
Yep.
Sabbath, Paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
And anything off of Stevie Ray Vaughan's catalog.
Very cool. That's an interesting. You got all the guitars covered there, man. Seriously, I mean, it's all on the heavy side. You got the whole thing covered, man. Even though Stevie Ray's a blues guy, he's killing it,
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, what's the most important things that you've learned about yourself throughout your career experience and through life?
Most important things. I'm not a quitter. I'm always open for interpretation, and that goes for just rolling with the punches and being able to sit in any kind of scenario, I should say. Great to awkward and get through that. Or I don't want to say get through that, but you know what I mean. And perseverance,
This might be part of the answer, but this is a tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
I have to say that's all in one of the same of the previous question.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Definitely on the perseverance side. It's life is challenging, but it's also fun, and it's those challenges that can it's your outlook.
Flipside, if you could change one thing about yourself, what would that be?
I guess that probably wouldn't be a question for myself. It might be a question for my family members. I don't know if I'd change anything about myself. I like who I am. And I know there's things I lack, and there's I can do better and learn. But I think generally I'm happy with me.
That's very cool, man. Best childhood memory. You sound like you had a really good childhood.
Oh man, I got a lot of those. I mean, everything from taking off on my bicycle to going fishing every night in Bird Creek. I'd say one of the coolest childhood memories, I worked on a gold mine in Canada and found gold. That's what I did. My job was to pan tailings mountains we'd be cutting into with D9s and all these trackers. So it was a full operation of finding gold in the Yukon, actually in Dawson City. And that was where the first real gold rush happened back in the 1800s. I mean, people were going from all over the world up there to try to make their make their millions in a gold, and most of them died getting there.
That's amazing, man. There's so much that, like, I never even heard of this. So much that goes on in the world. And the one bad thing about growing up in New York City is you think that nothing is going on in the world if it's not going on in New York City. And I've been out of there a long time, but I'm always amazed at all the new stuff I learned that people tell me. It's just like, it's a big, cool world out there, man. There's a lot of good stuff going on that just, like, how cool is that you get to mine gold up in Canada? How old were you when you did that?
I was 11 years old. I did that. So, and it was it's backbreaking work, man, but it was the coolest thing. It was me, my dad, and his partner, just the three of us out in the middle of nowhere on a legendary creek, very historical creek because of the gold rush era back then, called Bonanza Creek. And the stuff we found coming out of that mountain, because, up there in that territory, there's a lot of permafrost, meaning the ground is frozen all year long, even during the summer. So you're carving through this stuff. We ended up finding not only a lot of gold, but we've ended up finding, if you know what a mastodon is.
Like a prehistoric elephant.
Yes. So we found tusks. I mean, massive, long tusks and teeth from a mastodon.
How cool is that as an 11-year-old kid to find?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, really cool. And old shovels, I mean, from 1830 something, and mine shafts and all these things, digging down into the mountain and running our dams and our sluice boxes and stuff. So a lot of cool stuff,
That is really cool, man.
I mean, it's definitely a good place. If you're a boy and you're into that, that was a boy's world,
Tell me something about yourself people would either be surprised to hear or might find a little odd.
My childhood is unique and interesting or odd, but growing up, I grew up as a mountain man, a mountain boy, mountain man, and that's a big part of me is the outdoors. But living in Los Angeles, it's really, I find myself wanting to get the hell out of here a lot, just so I can go, either be at the beach and just for a couple hours, just to clear my head and feel like I've done something.
That's not far from the beach, though, is it?
No, no. I love the beach. In fact, it's if I wouldn't have been a guitar player, I would have been. I was working on being a professional skier, downhill skier.
Oh, wow.
I skied every day. I mean, every day, and got quite good at it. And then I heard, Vivian Campbell play this really cool solo in Holy Diver, and that kind of changed my
great record.
I never thought about being a guitar player until then. I was always into music, but never really wanted to pick up the instrument.
Man, that is an incredibly difficult sport. Downhill skiing. You talk about good cardio, man. Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was something I trained for every day. It was, I loved it. Love it to this day.
Who's had the biggest influence on you, both musically and also personally?
I'd have to say, maybe, definitely musically and personally in some things, maybe been my dad. So I never played, I wasn't an instrument player, but, I kind of was born into the music industry a little bit, because that's what my dad did. He worked for KABC out here in Los Angeles. So when he moved down from Alaska, which turned into KLOS, which is a pretty big station out here.
Even up
and so, even though my mom and him weren't together, I would still go to the station and see. I don't know if you know who J.J. Jackson is, the guy who helped start MTV back in the early '80s, and so I would go into the radio station and sit on these guys' lap while they spun records, and I was always around music, and my pops was always Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson were his roommates.
Oh my God. Jerry Bruckheimer from the producer, isn't he?
Yeah. Him and Don had the company, and they, all the movies they've done. So this was before they got their big break of Flashdance. So the three of them were roommates in Laurel Canyon back in the early 70s, and starting a partnership on getting movie stuff done. My dad was taking care of the music side, and those guys were taking care of the producing side, and then it wasn't going as planned, and my dad took off back to Alaska, worked on the pipeline, and kicked himself in the ass when he saw Flashdance. But you see his roomie's name coming down the produced by credit.
That's wild, though. That's interesting that you grew up in that environment, though.
Yeah. It's really cool hanging out with some. Got to hang out with a lot of cool folks I didn't know at the time were cool, but
yeah. So it sounds like you also got to spend a lot of time with your dad, even though your folks are split up.
What's that?
It sounds like you got to spend a lot of time with your dad, even though your folks were split up.
I did later on in my, I don't want to say, like my early childhood so much, because, it was young and he was young and both of them were young. So they both had to, were doing their own thing per se. But as I got older and he started calming down with, settling down more in what he was going to do in his life, that's when I did start seeing him a lot more. But there was the distance. He was living in Alaska. I'd be living here in Los Angeles, or vice versa. So it'd be it was go hang out with Dad for the summer, or when we lived both lived in the same state, hang out with him for a weekend or whatever. But yeah, our relationship definitely grew closer as the older I got.
That's cool, man. Do you have any non-musical superpowers, Chris?
Non-musical superpowers. Yes. I'm a Scorpio.
Yeah, and I am too, actually. Funny enough.
You?
Yeah, I am. Just turned.
Superpowers? I think I have a very good intuition.
Yeah.
I mean, I can pick up on people's vibes, I think, pretty well.
It's funny. That's my superpower.
Yeah. You ever feel like when you meet somebody, if they feel awkward, you'll start feeling awkward?
No, I don't take it on. I could just like I said,
right?
I just sounds like I'm in California. I could kind of like read the energy. I hate to even say that because it sounds so nutty for me.
So new age right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like not me, but like I can, like when I meet people, I feel what's going on. It sounds so ridiculous. Even so, when I'm articulating this, I sound like an idiot, but that's my superpower, man.
Yeah, I think that's probably mine as well.
Yeah. And my wife's, and I'm also, when I don't like the energy, I'm like not, I could probably do a better job about keeping that to myself.
Yes.
Like,
I get you on that. I'm good at like subduing my thoughts, but I try to, I'll try to find my way out of the situation if I'm not.
Yeah.
It's like I need to remove myself from here because something's not right.
Right. I won't, like if you meet somebody and if I like feel like negative or just douche, I just like walk away kind of, I'm not in a rude way, and I'm definitely not confrontational, but I'm not interested in spending 1 second of my time with that person.
Right.
Yeah. It just puts me off. My wife's always like, how come no one bothers, I said, cause I have like asshole repellent coating with me. And I just don't want to deal with it. Anyway, that's funny, man.
Asshole repellent.
Yeah. I don't know if that's good or bad. Biggest business or personal win?
Biggest business or personal win? Man, it's a good question, Craig. I don't have an answer for it. I'm trying to run back through the.
No, that's totally cool, man.
What are those things that when we were
archives?
Kids, the Vivitar things you put the slides in, the little round.
Oh yeah, the what the hell were they called? Something. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I never had one. My friends always had one. I always wanted one. I know exactly what the slides and
Yeah, and you look at the light, and that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I'm trying to picture my thing right now, going through moments of my life, wins. I'd say, I'm just going to be generic with it because to me, it does mean a lot. And that's just, I have a wonderful family around me and friends.
That's great, man. That is a huge win.
Yeah.
You could say that it's a freaking huge win, man.
Yeah.
Hey, 2 more questions. I really appreciate your time. And just to tell the audience, Chris and I spoke for like an hour probably before this. So I really appreciate your time. Anything you regret not doing?
I always wanted to follow winter around the world and ski the whole way. So
that's pretty badass.
I want to do that. So it's not a regret.
Last question. Biggest change in your personality over the last 10 years, and how much of the change has been deliberate and how much has just been a natural part of aging?
What is the biggest change you're asking?
Yeah. What's been the biggest change in your personality?
Letting things happen and unfold the way they're supposed to happen and being okay with it. I think it's both. Comes with age because you just learn the nature of the way things roll in life, and then also going through situations that have maybe transpired to know that we may think we have control, but we really don't have control.
Yeah, ain't that the truth, man? Dude, I can't thank you enough for your time. Let me tell people all the different ways they could plug into you and Beasto Blanco. First of all, if you haven't checked out Beasto Blanco, look up the band. They're very cool, really great musicians, very melodic songs. They've got 2 studio LPs and a live album. And the good news is there's a 3rd studio album coming out that we talked about during this interview, and that'll be out in April-ish of 2019. And please support the band and their music. Check out Chris as a guitar player. He's a lot of fun, very talented player, and a super sweet guy, as you just heard. Also, the band is on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you are looking for is your catalog out there? Is there any place people could look up your catalog for?
As far as Beasto Blanco is concerned, yes. I mean, you can go through iTunes or any of the digital outlets right now, or through Rat Pack Records, the label we're with. In regards to the music licensing stuff where we've had the placement, I don't know if there's a catalog. I have never uploaded a catalog for any of that. It's been very specific to whatever the project might be.
So if you like Chris's playing and you like some of the stuff we talked about, and you're interested in having Chris help you with either some musical branding for your business or project that you're working on, or if you want him to work on some tracks for you, or some, if you're a film, or if you're involved in film, TV, or some corporate events, because he does a lot of big corporate events. Like he was telling me about some, like very top notch, and you're interested in some audio editing or engineering for those type of things, hit him up on his email. I'm going to give you the email to use. Please don't be a dick and just start sending him messages like, yo, dude, I love you. And, don't do that. He's really busy, just like you are and I am. It's Brother Latham, Latham. That's Chris's last name. Brother Latham @gmail.com. Also, if you are interested in some lessons and you like the way Chris plays and you like the kind of music that Beasto Blanco is playing and you want some help with that, and you are at least an intermediate player, same thing. You can hit Chris up at that email address, brotherlatham@gmail.com. And again, look forward to Beasto Blanco's new record coming out. Anything I missed, man?
No, sounds great.
Dude,
sounds great.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed talking to you both before and during the interview, and I know we'll be speaking again, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Craig. I really do appreciate you having me. And, for everyone loves guitar, thank you for being listeners, and thank you for what you do too. And getting music out there to people, it's awesome. It's
You're welcome. Thing. It's my pleasure, man. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this interview, please share it with a friend in your social media channels. We appreciate your support and help with this. Thanks again to Chris Latham for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. Support Chris and Beasto Blanco and all the projects they are involved with. Make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com, sign up to get on our newsletter list so you and I can connect. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I'm out. We hope you enjoyed this show. If you did, subscribe to the Everyone Loves Guitar podcast, and you can do this online at everyonelovesguitar.com or on iTunes. And if you like the show, please leave us a 5-star positive review. The more 5-star reviews we get, the higher our show ranks, and higher rankings mean we get to continue speaking with cool, interesting guests on our show. We'll see you on the next episode, and until then, keep playing your guitar and have fun making music.